my people. Welcome to Don't Forget to Flush. In my opinion, I hope may be one of your top podcasts that you get to listen to. It's fortnightly, comes out every 2 weeks. We're trying to increase our frequency, but it's going to be dependent on experiences like the one that I'm about to have right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to announce that Don't Forget to Flush one more time is on the road, and we're in the lovely, beautiful city that sometimes sounds like where you go get your driver's license because of the acronym. But for us, we love it because this is the DMV, and we're in the city that starts the first letter DC to meet with the man, the myth, the legend, Oluwatosin, Jedi Ayo, the Jedi.
Hey,
in the building.
What's up, brother? How you doing? Good to have you in the city of the DMV.
Okay.
Which particularly this is DC. DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah.
Which 3 states are intertwined.
Mm-hmm. And this is like the center. This is the center of it.
Oh yeah, this is the powerhouse of the United States of America. So not just the DC.
Okay, I get that part. I have to respect myself. It's just that these days, with 45 doing what he's doing, half of the time
at
we
least,
come here.
Yeah, it's your 45, not
who's
mine.
45? It's your 45.
No, he came from the Apple City.
Which, Baba, we don't even know him in that place. We don't know him in that place. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to have Jedi in the building.
Thank you, Namu. I really appreciate this.
Man, thank you so much for making this happen. I have finally had the opportunity of hanging out with folks that I feel people should hear from, get an opportunity to explore their background and know more about their story, know more about their thinking and, influences and things like that. And so we're very excited to have you on Don't Forget to Flush. It's a podcast.
Never forget to flush.
Well, that is a very true point. Now, interestingly,
never forget.
Interestingly, most married people say they never forget to flush, but generally across the board, statistics shows that some people do forget to flush.
Not some, most. If not, there is no couple, no spouse in a couple that can vouch today that never forgot, if not once or twice.
Now,
to flush.
See, so you're helping me with this podcast because that's the spirit behind it. Because what we're saying is
that is why. Sorry to cut you. That's why I said I will never. I didn't say I don't.
Oh, I will never.
I will never.
Well, it's good that you're thinking that way. It's always good to pursue it as a goal. And if it does happen, it does happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what this is going to be about. This is Don't Forget to Flush. I have Jedi in the building, comedian, extraordinaire, MC, professional entertainer, producer. I mean, name it. This is the guy right here. I mean, if you talk about what this guy's career is about. So we're going to explore it together. Thank you for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
Please, let's all sit back, relax, and welcome to our house. Don't Forget to Flush, a podcast dedicated to the African Renaissance, building information around the culture commentary, and of course, one of my favorite aspects, toilet seat conversations, because that's where it all happens. It's on the toilet seat. Most of the brilliant ideas that people have had started on the toilet seat.
Oh,
you know that statue of the great thinker? I feel like what they forgot was the toilet that's where he was.
Well, the great thinker, if we really know the year, we'll know the kind of toilet they were using. So maybe that might be the problem of why they didn't know how to put it. It might be what we locally call Pete's toilet.
What's it?
So,
oh man, that is hilarious. So Jedi, okay, now we've gone too far because people will be like, ew,
that's why we're saying don't forget to flush.
Baba, we don't know if somebody's eating right now. This is metaphor. Okay, let's just stay within the framework.
I apologize if you're eating.
This is what happens.
I know
this is what happens when you have a comedian.
I know definitely
you have a comedian on the podcast.
We'll tell you don't forget to flush when you get there.
Well, don't forget to flush. We're very excited. Thank you so much for joining us, Jedi.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, of course, off the bat, everybody, anybody who follows you on social media or has come to your show or has been around you, I know it's the same question that we all have, right? When we think about how crazy and how tough, comedy is as a genre, and not only that aspect, but even with all your productions and everything. What was your journey into comedy like? What was that journey like?
Well, actually, it's an interesting journey. One of the ways I could relate to is right from my young age, I've always loved the happy atmosphere. I've always been a jovial person. I've always loved to go out to parties. At my young age, I just want to go to a birthday party, go and play with friends, So I was more of the outgoing kind of person.
Yeah.
But you live in an African home, most of those things were cushioned.
Yeah,
because of the fear of the things that happen in the society. Either you were kidnapped, or there's an armed robbery, there's an accident, or there's a witchcraft. They gave you sweet, you licked it. This one happened.
It's interesting that we add witchcraft into our own.
So, where you live in a home, but they always caution, don't go outside, don't go outside. If you go outside, you're in trouble. In fact, there was I can never forget this one. It hurts on my street. Our neighbors know each other. All of us in the neighborhood on that street, we know each other. So there's a particular house that was doing a birthday party. Everybody on our street and also people from outside the street were at that party except me. I was looking at the party from my gate. What did my mom say? As long as we didn't get an invitation for you to go, you are not going.
Wow. So your mom was practicing American style living.
I'm just realizing that. Wow. As I'm talking to you now, brother,
so
I'm just
she was prophesying into your future now, knowing that you're going to make it.
And the annoying thing? She traveled that weekend.
Wow.
So I was left in my aunt's care that we mustn't go to that party because we're not invited. And I was like, but everybody in the neighborhood is there. Is it
Owambe now? We defined the Owambe.
It's a 10-year-old party.
Yeah.
A lot of my peers and I was like 13 or 14 then. But all the neighborhood were there. So how would you tell me they got invitation and we didn't? It's not this house. This house we're talking about is 2 houses away from me.
So it's possible you got an invitation, but she didn't approve them.
Which we don't even know till today. So it hurts that my friends will come and console me at our gate. You know the kind of gates we had back home. There's always a kind of hole.
Like the
by the edge of the wall. Yeah. Do you understand? And all our gates were so high, all because of security. So standing there, watching the party, and your friends now come and console you. Yeah, sorry. Hey, yeah, sorry.
We wish you could be here,
my brother.
So
the worst part. My father came in. He was out of town. He came in, and the next thing I was happy, saying that he would be like, go now, go and play with your friends. Do you know what he said? He said, as long as your mother said don't go, you are not going.
Oh, wow.
It was extra painful.
No, but that is your influence is then. I can imagine your mom being strict, your dad aligning with your mom, giving you American type conditions.
Did we even know about America then? At our young age? Did we even know? We were living in a local area called Satellite Town, off Ojo.
Wow.
Mautu to Okoko axis, to those who are familiar with Lagos, you understand?
Which is, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in West Africa, it's the country called Nigeria.
Yeah, the country called Nigeria. Yeah. So I've always loved to be around parties, be around friends, but I didn't know it was a preparation for what I would be as a brand. And here is the connection. I also kicked off my career in music. I've always loved music.
That is very true. I remember bobbing to your track.
Thank you. Now, around 91, I started playing the drums. The children's department of the church then, they now decided to start training the children on musical instruments.
Wow.
Now, they put me in the category of learning guitar. But my mind was on the drums because I've always loved watching music on TV, seeing the drum set. There was something artistic to it. So later I learned the drum set and I became one of the best as a child growing up. So then I entered into the vocal part, which is to sing. When I go to my school then, in the fellowship, I'll be the one leading praise worship and all.
Okay.
So all this was developing until one very day, I was in the university this time around. And they know me as an outgoing person. I speak very well and all. So this was during the strike period. Remember strike?
Yeah.
Every time they strike,
when they
lecturers are on strike.
Exactly.
Or state workers are on strike. Something strike.
Yes.
We just
everybody strikers.
So no lecture was going on, nothing. And the fellowship now decided, look, they want to do a concert. This were the days where there was no Instagram.
And this was when you were in college, right?
Yeah, university, okay. Lagos State University. No Instagram, no email, no Facebook, nothing.
Life was simple.
I couldn't believe. I mean, so I got into the meeting when they were planning, and next thing we heard is, oh, okay, so I mean, you will join this person and this person to host the event. I said, okay, no problem.
I got this.
And I got on stage, we introduced this one, introduced that one, and I played around with one material, and people were laughing all the way. Laughing. I said, Shu, do you know at this time, I didn't even know anything about being a comedian.
Oh, okay.
Comedians in society. I had never met anyone before. So I was able to do it. People laughed, they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Play around with materials that as a young age you were talking with your friends, laughing, played with it. And that was it. And it got the attention of some people. Before you know it, oh, please come and host our. Oh, please come and anchor our. Please come and host our. Please come and anchor. And it grew from there.
So for how long now, if you had to aggregate that? I mean, this was you in college. You've been at this for like what?
Oh, yeah. 20 years and counting.
Man, wow.
20 years and counting.
See, he's the man, the legend.
Oh, yeah.
Jedi.
But as at that time, funny enough, it wasn't like I was a full comedian, but I was someone who could host events. So when I discovered how the attention is, it was left for me now to start developing things that I would say for people to crack up.
I see. Okay.
Getting materials. So in the process of all this journey, I now met with two wonderful people, Ayo Makinde and Dele Agadumo. They were presenters on radio, and every Sunday they had a radio program called Make It Happen.
Okay.
And they invited me over, and I became a part of them, and all I'll do is a segment to crack a joke for people to laugh. So it added to the fact that every week I had to come up with something new,
yeah,
for them to laugh. So I was doing it like for a year or two, until one very day, one of the like big brothers of comedy today, Benga Deyinka, came to the radio station.
Now you're already talking about all your influences. You had like broadcasters as part of your influences. You had like core heavyweights like Benga Deyinka as part of your influences. Like how many other influences?
I've not even started mentioning. So, I mean, trust me, this podcast will be a whole lot about my story. It's just like the podcast I watched of Dr. Phil and Steve Harvey. It changed my life because Steve Harvey, all he was talking about were his stories. And that was what changed my life.
That's what we're here for. That's
exactly.
That's what we want to explore.
And I really salute you because you just don't know who's listening that might be inspired by your experiences and my experiences.
And just like Jedi's already preaching.
And we'll remember always to flush.
We've not even gone this thing. You're already preaching. And
no, I did quote scripture. Calm down.
But that is awesome, man.
So
Benga Deyinka was one of the first core, you would say, stand-up comics.
Yes.
That you and
do you know, as at that time, he's a big brother to us, but he was also building himself. He has his own story. Trust me. The show he came to promote was like his first major show outing as a comedian. Now, he came on the radio show, and I just met him there. I didn't even remember I told you I didn't know anything about major comedians in society or comedy shows.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I was talking about a material which apparently he identified with me on that material. And we both did a material together that we've not met before and hit a solid punchline.
Wow.
The whole studio went gog.
Wow.
It went crazy.
And this was the first time you were meeting him and you guys were in the studio together.
And the next thing he just told me, look, my show is coming up. I want you to come and perform. Nice. I said, fine. Guess what? When I got there, I had just 5 minutes on stage. Just 5 minutes. It was at Excellence Hotel, Ogba, Ikeja. Just 5 minutes. I was wearing a short knicker and a shirt.
Now, please let the listeners know what short knicker is.
Shorts.
I had to call you out on it because I'm like,
I like that. You're right, because where we come from, we call it short knicker.
Short knicker.
We combine two words.
Yeah.
We're just shorts.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're performing at a show. It's strange to see someone come on in an outfit of shorts. They just expect you to dress very well, look amazing.
Was that planned?
I just thought about it. Like, let me look different.
Yeah.
So I got on stage. As they introduced me, I only made one statement. I'm not joking. One statement. And as I came, I said, well, a lot of you are looking at me now with this short knicker. At least, after all, it's taller than Julius Ago.
Oh.
You see your response?
New kid on the block and you went for Julius. Oh, my gosh.
You see your response?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this response is because he's mentioning another heavyweight in the comedy bits. Julius Ago.
I had heard about him.
Julius, the genius.
Thank you. I had heard about him, but I hadn't met him. So when I said that, I am not joking. Your response, like, imagine in a heavy measure.
Yeah.
And before I could say the next thing, I just put off my mic. It was like, that's all. Don't say the other thing again. Just leave. And my reactions to the fact that my mic wasn't working was causing more laughter. And some people were in the same sense. Give him mic, let him talk now. Give him mic, let him talk.
That is hilarious. That is like a lot of
That
balls.
was the performance that two people saw. And one particularly was like, no, I need to take you to this place, this place, this place. I'm talking about Basket Mouth and Teju Babyface.
Wow.
Basket Mouth.
So we've only gone these many minutes, and you've sort of mentioned, okay, this is really interesting, ladies and gentlemen. This is Don't Forget to Flush podcast with Jedi, the man Jedi in the building, his career, his person, and I'm just like, you know what, guys? Hit us up on Don't Forget to Flush on Instagram. Hit us up on Don't Forget to Flush P on Twitter. We have a Facebook page, which is Don't Forget to Flush Podcast. But you could just send us an email, don't forget to flush pod@gmail.com. Nice. Because I guess we're going to get a lot more responses on this. So let me get this straight. We haven't even gone far. In your background, Benga Deinka, in your yabbing, which is AKA you went after Julius Agu. Two folks who are currently blazing the trail in comedy. Basket Mouth and Teju Babyface were in the audience. Mm-hmm. Please tell me how. Okay.
While doing that, Basket came up to me and said, "Guy, you are funny. I'm going to take you to Motherland." Now, Motherland is a place where Lagbaja does a performance every last Friday of the month.
Now, Lagbaja being the mythical,
the icon,
the icon, the legend on the saxophone and in music. Who ask any African, they'll tell you who Lagbaja is.
That was the place people go to every last Friday of the month. There were no regular clubs like clubs then. Yeah. But that last Friday in Ikeja, that place is always sold out. Tickets were like 500 naira then. Sold out. Every last Friday of the month. Trust me.
Nice.
So he said, every time Lagbaja has a performance, there's a break. Yeah. Now, within that break, comedians perform. When I mean comedians, majority of the established comedians today were on that platform. From Alibaba to Julius Agu to Bakasi to Benga Deinka the first to Basket Mouth to Teju Babyface, myself, Didon, different people.
Wow.
There's always that few minutes.
Yeah, I remember Motherland. It was the happening place in Lagos. If you were in Lagos and you hadn't been to Motherland, it's like you can't even get a seat. It was like one of those, to get a table in that space.
A lot of people were waiting for their salary at the end of the month.
Yeah,
that's when you come and
show up. Yeah.
The drinks are always sold out. They think like it was crazy.
I think it was one of the first legit cross-cultural places, apart from like Fela's Shrine. Yeah. I mean, anywhere else, if you were like the guy in Lekki, VI, or all the way to Badagry or Koko, Motherland was like, the spot.
Exactly. So that was how from there, one journey to the other, one place to the other, until one very day, I went for an event. No, one very day I called... Was it before or after? It was before. No, yeah. It was. There was an event I went to that I met someone, but before then, I was with one of my colleagues, Didon, and we're just talking about different, the legends. Then for us, they were big. So he just said, Mo call bros. And we called him. And I was shocked he recognized me. And he called my name. I was like, I've not met this man before. And I realized and remembered, Benga Deinka show, he was there. Ali Baba.
Wow.
And the next thing he says, come and meet me. He was just arriving from Abuja.
Ali Baba, the grandfather of comedy.
We met him at the airport.
Pretty much.
And he took me straight to his house in Lekki. And the first place he took me into was his library. He told me, he said, this is what...
Ladies and gentlemen, this library is known for where it's like the place where you go into and you come out. It's like entering into the holies of holies comedy.
if you weigh who should be called a comedian in this world by the library they have, I'm not qualified to be a comedian.
No, that one we know. All of us have issues with being able to read. That one we know. but Ali Baba is a class of his own.
Like, it's a heavyweight library. These were not books on comics. These were encyclopedias, novels, different books. And what he said was, when reading, you'll be amazed of the kind of words you can pick from the books that you would use when you're hosting events. And also from reading, you are imagining stories. You are visualizing what's happening. You can create materials from there.
Wow.
So that's why I started paying attention to reading some stuff. If it's a newspaper, if it's a journal, if it's a book, whatever. And also I pay attention when I watch TV. When I watch movies and all.
So here we are with a moral of the story, which is, if you're listening to this podcast and you're not into the business of reading, find a podcast that you'll be listening to that can bring you closer to the reading.
Just make sure you're attentive.
Or just listen to Don't Forget to Flush. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You will always get materials. That's it.
Nice.
You know.
So let me see this. So Ali Baba was already keeping tabs on you pretty much. He must have been like
very much then. So it's very easy to keep the tab. Very much. I mean, if we're talking of the guys who are already doing big things in comedy, they were not up to 10.
That's true.
They were not really up to 10.
Wow. So speaking about this journey and this trajectory, did this move you away from your academics or school, or were you proverbially doing both at the same time? Were you like, okay, I'm still going to do school and I was going to do this, or?
Well, then I was passionate about my new discovery, entertainment and all. But they said we should go to school. Let's go.
I was just waiting for you to say what every single African, particularly Nigerian, say. It doesn't matter what our passions are. We will still circle back and we'll say, we just had to go to school, Sha.
Let's just go.
But that's amazing, though.
Yeah. And most time, for me, 2 ways the school helped. Whatever you learned was not lost. In terms of academics, I read microbiology.
Oh, wow. That's deep.
But in terms of schooling experience, it also helps shape you as a man in life.
Fair point.
Because of the kind of people you meet, the kind of situations you encounter, how you get out of it, and all, everything plays one way or the other in time as you grow. So it was interesting that he took me there, and I left his house that day with 3 suits, 3 shirts.
Wow, he not only sold into your life mentally and
I was the only one
encouraging you
his wardrobe. In fact,
but he's Ali Baba. He's always extremely generous. I like that segue because that brings us having him give you something that personal. Investing into you physically too, brings us into this whole second segment that we have on the podcast, which is about culture commentary. And it brings us to that topic about home, right? So in the midst of this trajectory from your mom who said you shouldn't be, and bless her soul, because I'm
she's
aware
happy
as well.
watching me.
She's smiling down and we're proud. But thinking about the fact that she was the same one who was saying, except you get invited, what was home like for you? Was this something that, your family supported or your parents, or what was that journey like?
Now, my family supported.
Okay, the way you picked family out of the air and you moved your hand like this, I'm like,
I'll explain. It was a very funny situation. My parents, especially my mom, because I didn't really grow up with my dad, but my mom, he saw the works. But my mom, particularly, every blessed day, she supported me in a great deal. She just wanted me to be educated. So she was like, get your first degree. After that, do whatever you wish to do. Because I'm sure she was seeing the ripple effects of the results
Yeah.
of being in entertainment industry.
Mm.
Go to places, people greet you well. They're happy that your son could do this.
And you were doing it with class. I mean, like all the people you mentioned would inspire you in the direction of a
doing
particular
these events
kind
here
of,
and there.
you know.
Also doing music in church and everything. So it was like she was proud to have a son who people can speak well of. But her role was get your education. So which means for me, if I had an opportunity to study anything entertainment in a university,
Yeah.
I would have studied. All because she wanted me to get my education. Even before she passed, when I moved into the United States, she was one that pushed me to go to New York Film Academy.
Now.
In Los Angeles, California.
Exactly. You know, it was one of the things I was going to ask you about.
Telling you. She just told me,
look. People listening to this won't even realize that in the midst of everything else that you've been on and been through and been with, you're also a trained professional actor. I mean,
thank you.
Yeah.
Sir. She was like, look for a school that fits into anything your entertainment you're doing and go. One day it will work for you. It will speak for you. And that was when I went in search and I found New York Film Academy.
Nice.
She covered the expenses.
Wow.
The fees, she paid it. I went to my own hustle. I stayed with Wamlele then. He was in Los Angeles. And
Wamlele is another comedian.
Yeah. So, doing one event to the other, small change, they enter. You understand? And his wife really took care of me while I was at the house.
That
so
awesome.
Feeding wasn't a problem, And but my mom, was the one that made sure the fees were paid. Now, before then, even in my early days of putting events together, she had supported me financially one way or the other.
Nice.
Times I need to travel, I don't have the money. She would give me.
You bring up something as you're talking about this and this segment about culture commentary. One of the things that if somebody is listening to this podcast, they would have noticed that in all the people that I've been interviewing, there's this seeming consistent message about culturally how even though our parents have these high regards, like look at everything being said about Nigerians now, right? Parents are pushing us to go to school and to study and to read. The part that we don't talk so much about is that their awareness of all the other things that we could be doing as well, and you're just sort of highlighting this aspect. So let me ask you a pointed question. If you think about that experience, right, and you think about now that you live in the United States and this culture play between what you could say Africans and African Americans or Africans and Americans in general, what would you say the intersection of that growing up experience is? Because you're describing this and folks will think maybe you grew up with the silver spoon and you lived in some posh part of, that's not your story, but this is your life.
Yeah.
In the midst of the challenges, you had that kind of support that if you think about people's journey here to the best of your comparison, what would you say the learning should be, or the transferable idea, or the unification that we all as Black people should have when it comes to support and influences and the arts? And
well, if I use my mom as an example, that was just the financial support I mentioned. She had the spiritual support. She prayed every time. She prayed every time. She prayed like, God, is only you that I have. I don't have any other person. And this is your son. Times when I had issues in my education, when I didn't pass my first WAEC.
Which, by the way, guys, WAEC is like the top-notch examination.
West African Examination Council.
Yeah, which you have to take before you can get into college.
Yeah, exactly. Just like the SAT.
Yeah, like the SATs. Yeah,
the SATs. And she will always tell me, "Don't worry. Yes, we know some of your mates are entering university and all. Your own will come. Just focus. Read. God is with you." She was always there spiritually. So I had spiritual backup. I had financial backup. And I had moral backup too. She expected that, look, if you're going out there, represent a family that you're coming from.
Nice.
Do you understand? So don't go there and be a disgrace.
I like the fact that you're saying all this, because every single thing you've said, if anybody was to rewind this and listen to this, it's like you're sort of talking about life skills for parenting.
Exactly.
You're encouraging folks. If you're listening to this podcast and you're in the path of, building out your family, the truth is you should be a praying type of
Now,
family.
guess what? Let me help you there. That is the intersection you're talking about. That is what is expected for the black. The orientation of an average black man, family is involved. Go and check. In Africa, we coined an adage that says it takes a village to raise a child.
That's true. We're the ones that have the village.
Exactly.
It is an African, yeah.
If you look at the neighborhoods of the black in America, while growing up, it was all about family.
And that's what they wanted to destroy. That
Exactly.
was what they targeted.
There's
because they knew they destroy.
There's an unusual strength when there's a family involved. Look at cookouts.
Yeah.
Look at where they do parties. Or maybe someone is going to be drafted in the NFL. Or maybe you want to watch the Super Bowl or anything. Go and look at it. Look at the way we celebrate parties, birthdays, and all. But you see,
and that's the similarity, right? We share that common, but
it's a common thing in
so
our race.
That's what our culture has to.
Yeah, we've not harnessed it because those elements I mentioned from the support of a mother is something that should be something available from a family background. I should be able to say, because I know Namo and the family it comes from, we grew up together. Whichever way I can, at a point, should be able to support him financially, morally, and spiritually.
Good word.
By the time we can all do these together, you've been to a show of mine before. We know each other, but you know how I went extra to make sure, Namo, are you okay? You've arrived at your hotel? How's everything? When are you going to leave? Because it's expected of me to make sure my guests is properly taken care of. Look at the comfort of the atmosphere in which you had a great performance.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
If the black race, because let's not lie, it's not racism here, but it's about the culture we define. The whites are independent of each other.
And it sort of works for them because that's their culture. But our culture as black people is a culture of community.
Thank you.
We're powerful when we come together, and that's what they are fighting to make sure that we don't have.
Until we can hold and harness that, we'll continue to remain in the state at which we are. And until people in our race can understand the value of this thing, they will continue to live in their own peril.
Awesome sauce.
Do you understand? For goodness sake, if there are people who are trying to look out for you, if there are people who believe in you, if there are people who can support you, and all you want to do is just be the way you want to be, it's your choice. It's your choice. Remember, just before we got into talking about our podcast today, having this discussion, remember when we spoke earlier?
Yeah.
If we keep giving excuses, drugs and everything, there are so many successful black people today that had a story. They chose.
So beyond that expression, what will be the action? If you had to define an action.
Well, it's going to be tough. Because the problem that requires a solution through an action.
It is multifaceted.
I would rather use the word as degenerated. When you get an injury and you don't treat it on time, it could lead to a sore. And when treating the sore is more painful than treating the injury. Now, if you don't treat it properly, it could lead to so much decay that you might need to amputate that area.
Now you've taken us into a very deep area. Jedi, we can also now add philosopher too into this whole conversation. Speaking about your acting career though, because that came up as you were talking, as we begin to round off this part one of this interview. I guess the big question is, what was that experience like? Because, we know we have Nollywood, right? We have acting back home, Nollywood, all that. And then you had the opportunity of being trained, New York Film Academy. It's a right path people have gone through to end up in Hollywood. What was your experience like?
It was different. And the best way I can describe it is, if I had the opportunity to have done the university course,
okay,
the same way New York Film Academy was, I'll do a 4-year program or a 2-year program. I would have preferred it than doing the microbiology I did in university.
I'm laughing because I'm like, you've now come and done the American version of acting. All of a sudden, you're like, Baba, let's just even wash it.
It wasn't just an American form of acting. It was a basic training that can sustain you anywhere in the world in the field of acting.
Wow.
The details of acting. When you're dealing with a monologue, what is a monologue? When you're dealing with the interpretation of the monologue.
All right, hold on, Baba. Because right now, New York Film Academy is not sponsoring this podcast. Because now that you're saying all this,
I'm so sorry.
New York Film Academy, we have an opportunity for you to be able to sponsor the podcast. We can always cut this segment. He's a good student. He went through the system.
I am so sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm just saying that.
I was just speaking out of passion.
No, don't mind me. But the thing about it though is that with everything that you're saying, I think this is a great point for us to have folks digest.
Yeah.
And hit us up back on the part 2 of this interview.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've been speaking with, hanging out with my brother, the main man, the myth, the legend, the one and the only, Jedi.
Thank you.
Who, is right here with me. And what we're going to do is that we're going to conclude on part 1. Make sure you follow Jedi at Comedy Jedi. It's Comedy Jedi, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like Jedi, like Jedi, like Comedy Jedi. Maybe that's
Comedy
what
Jedi is the Instagram, Twitter handle and all. So
it's Comedy Jedi everywhere.
Well, yeah, like Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
A lot of times, people always say like by the time they did the first 2, somebody came and just collected the third one, and they now have like we're like, don't forget to flush. We had to go with don't forget to flush P for Twitter because we couldn't get it anymore. It's like that kind of thing. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Part 1 concludes. Check out part 2, which you can click on at this point and just continue our show. So thank you so much. So Jedi, like some breakfast? This is very early. I know it's like 12 noon, but we should be able to get breakfast. Don't forget to flush. Right back at you. Part 1 with Comedy Jedi. D Jedi. D Jedi.
And D Namo.
D Jedi. D. Don't forget to flush, ladies and gentlemen.